it opens up the whole world. We might all be super smart, able to think of wonderful ideas, move forward in great things. But until we open it up to someone else to work with us, to build that teamwork, that friendship, that common goal you're working towards, as they're working to help you and you're working to help them, new ideas spring up. And it's not just a mind with ideas, it's a mastermind full of ideas. And that happens when you build the trust. But to start out, I want to take you on a little bit of a historical journey here to the very first mastermind that ever happened. And unfortunately, the names of these people have been lost to history. But tens of thousands of years ago, there was a man who was standing on a hill, and he watched a rock roll down this hill. And as he did that, he realized that a rock with a flat bottom would sit there, but if it was kind of rounded, it would roll. And he got this business idea that he could cut rocks to be a little bit more round, and he could roll them. So he started traveling from cave to cave to share his business idea of this rolling rock. And as he tried to explain it to people, that you could take a rock you wanted and you could spend hours cutting it, and you could move the rock from one place to another. And people kept saying things like, there's an awful lot of rocks here. Why don't I just get a rock that's already here? Why go through that work? And he was frustrated because nobody really understood this principle that he was trying to explain. And as he was traveling from one cave to another, he came across another traveler. And this traveler had a stick. And they got talking, and the man with the stick was also trying to share his idea of how versatile this stick could be. And people kept thinking, we've already got sticks here. But they sat down and said, okay, how can we get together and find a way to create something useful from this? And after a while, they got the idea to put the stick through the center of that round rock. And as my father used to always remind me, the inventor of the wheel might have been smart, but the inventor of the axle is the one who really made it take off. And that first mastermind is when the wheel and the axle came together. And suddenly there was a tool that would transform the world in a way that had never been done before. So that was the first mastermind. It was two people getting together with a common goal, a desire to reach a certain outcome, sharing their individual talents, experiences, backgrounds, and knowledge to create something which would be mutually beneficial for them. Now, the mastermind, okay, that's a fictitious story, but I think it's a nice idea. But the mastermind has evolved a lot from there. And I'm going to move you to a next mastermind that I experienced not long ago. So I was sitting down with a friend, and he had a business that he was trying to get going. And he had this rather complicated graph that he would show to his customers to explain how this process worked. And he found that it was just people were getting lost when he was explaining it. So he came to me and said, okay, give me an idea. What can I do here? How can I explain this graph? So we started talking about it, and he had the technical background in this field. I came at it from someone who really didn't know much about it. So I was more like what the customer would be. So I had a perspective of what do I really want to learn from this graph? So I started erasing lines that I didn't think really applied to me. And as we sat down over the course of a couple of hours, together we came up with a very simplified graph that got us both kind of excited about this and how we could now help explain his business model to his customers so that they would be more excited about it. That was more of a mastermind, something that he couldn't do on his own. He'd spend hours and hours trying to figure this, and it became more and more complicated. But when he met someone with a different perspective, a different background, that was able to simplify it to what the end user needs as opposed to what the creator envisioned, and let those two meet together. That's a mastermind. Never plan alone, because when you plan alone, you create something that you want. And I've learned from my experience that the things I want don't necessarily translate into what a lot of people are willing to pay me for. I think they're great, but if no one wants to pay me, it's not going to be a good business. Or for that matter, many things successful will not become successful if there's no one else who wants them. So as the mastermind evolves, we all experience that kind of a thing where we talk to somebody else, they share their perspective, and suddenly everything becomes clear to you. That happens a lot when we're talking to friends. So how do we move from this informal mastermind, this meeting, whether by chance or among friends, from an idea, wanting to be able to gain something from it, to something formalized that we know we're going to get. I was about to say smarter, but I'm going to say smarter. We're going to get smarter by doing this. And at the risk of turning this into a commercial, because Champion Circle, who sponsors this podcast, is a mastermind. And my first real mastermind, like many of us, was coming to Champion Circle when I was invited by a friend. That, hey, we got this networking group, but it's not just meeting people, it's helping you move forward with your ideas. I said, sounds fun, let me give it a try. So I went there, and I realized, much to the thanks of Mr. John Kovacs Jr., who taught me what mastermind was through this group, I realized a mastermind involves several components beyond the obvious 2 or more people meeting together with a common goal. And the first of those is an open discussion. And when I first started coming to Champion Circle, I realized that there was a lot of personal baggage that had held me back. And as I began to discuss openly with people and receive ideas, I began to recognize that some of this baggage I didn't have to carry around. Now, a lot of this, thankfully, Willie and Lauren and John, who were there, never kicked me out as I got into the personal side of things before I moved to business ideas. But we had an open discussion about what I needed to do so that I was ready to move forward. And the crucial part to allow that to happen was the trust that was built as we discussed things. As people shared business challenges and personal challenges, we began to build a trust among each other. And especially the core that met every week really got to know each other, trust each other, be open with each other, able to say things. And it sounds like I'm just saying this is a friend. And I'm so grateful that these are friends. But it goes beyond that, because it's a trust where you're opening up, simply trying to help each other. So when you're open to that idea, open to share ideas, receive critiques, and even some criticism sometimes in a kind and loving way, and that trust is built around it, then you begin to move forward. And you move forward by getting more and better ideas joining you. You get people with different viewpoints, different past experiences, people who have read a different book, worked in a different industry, met a different person, lived in a different place. And all of these things come together to allow a mastermind, which is that joining of 2 or more people working towards a common goal. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit from Napoleon Hill's definition. But as you meet together, not going it alone. I've many times done a brainstorming session where I take out a piece of paper and I write down a bunch of ideas. But I have never come up with as many good ideas as when I had a group of people in that, what I call a targeted brainstorming with me, sharing their ideas. It opens up the whole world. We might all be super smart, able to think of wonderful ideas, move forward in great things. But until we open it up to someone else to work with us, to build that teamwork, that friendship, that common goal you're working towards, as they're working to help you and you're working to help them, new ideas spring up. And it's not just a mind with ideas, it's a mastermind full of ideas. And that happens when you build the trust, when you have open discussions, and when you bring in people with different backgrounds, different experiences. One of my lessons of life that I remind myself If I only talk to people I agree with, I will never learn anything new. If you only meet with the same group of people who have the same background as you and the same ideas as you, will never have new ideas brought into them. That's the key of the mastermind, the brilliance of something which honestly is so ridiculously simple to understand. You put two minds together, you're going to get twice as many ideas as one mind. You're going to find the flaws, you're going to find the benefits. So I just want to wrap up with a simple idea. Never plan alone. You can start your idea. That's great. Sit there and ruminate on it, jot down ideas. But then you need to find a mastermind, whether it's one friend, a spouse, a family member, someone outside of your business circle, someone who thinks differently. Or best of all, find a group, hint, hint, champion circle, which will allow you to mastermind with like-minded people who want to move forward but have a different background and experience. Don't do it alone. There might be a few geniuses out there who will be able to succeed whatever they want. I am not one of those. But I become a genius when I take everyone else's ideas that they freely give to me through the mastermind. So I'm thankful for the chance I had to learn about masterminds. In this case, through Mr. Kovach and Champion Circle and the friends I made here and the things that they've done for me. So I'll close with just that simple advice. Never plan alone. Form a mastermind, join a mastermind, make a mastermind, and you will become a master of your mind.